The timing couldn't be more perfect right now. And honestly, everything is starting to fall into place for the Toronto Blue Jays in ways that nobody could have predicted even a week ago. We just witnessed the most chaotic and action-packed day of this entire offseason, and the ripple effects are massive for Toronto. Multiple dominoes have fallen, key competitors have made their moves, and suddenly the path forward for the Blue Jays is becoming crystal clear. Let me break down exactly what's happening because there's a lot to unpack here. John Heyman and John Morosi were doing a live stream from the winter meetings, and they specifically named the Blue Jays and Red Sox as the most aggressive teams at these meetings right now. Not kind of aggressive, not somewhat interested, the most aggressive. That tells you everything you need to know about how Ross Atkins and the front office are operating. They're not sitting back waiting for deals to come to them. They're out there making calls, pushing conversations forward, and positioning themselves to land the players they want. Now, I know there's been criticism about Ross Atkins not making moves fast enough. People are saying he's sleeping on opportunities, that he's letting other teams grab the big names while Toronto stands on the sidelines. But that narrative is completely wrong. Just because the Jays haven't made a splashy move in the last 24 hours doesn't mean they're not working. In fact, all the reporting suggests they're working harder than almost any other team at these meetings. They're just being strategic about it. They're not panicking. They're waiting for the right opportunity to strike. And speaking of opportunities, Kyle Schwarber just signed with the Phillies, 5 years, $30 million per season. Now, on the surface, you might wonder why that matters to Toronto. The Jays weren't seriously pursuing Schwarber. They've got Anthony Santander, and John Schneider confirmed today that Santander is going to be fully healthy and ready to contribute next season. So losing out on Schwarber isn't a big deal. But here's why this signing is actually massive for Toronto. The Phillies were the number one competitor for Kyle Tucker, and now they're out. Think about what that means. Philadelphia was reportedly one of the most serious contenders to land Tucker. They had the resources, they had the need, and they had the willingness to make a big offer. But now they've committed major money to Schwarber, another left-handed bat, and it doesn't make sense for them to go after Tucker anymore. Reports are already coming out saying the Phillies are backing off their pursuit of Tucker. That's one less team Toronto has to worry about. That's one less bidding war they have to engage in. The field is narrowing, and the Blue Jays are right there at the front of the pack. But it's not all smooth sailing. The Orioles have apparently reached out to Tucker's camp. Mike Elias drafted Tucker back when he was with the Astros, so there's a connection there. That's something to monitor. But here's the thing. I don't see the Orioles outbidding Toronto. The Blue Jays have a better roster right now. They're coming off a World Series appearance. They're more committed to winning immediately. If it comes down to Toronto versus Baltimore, the Jays should win that battle every single time. The Orioles are building something, but they're not at Toronto's level yet, not even close. And now let's talk about the absolute best piece of news to come out today. Dylan Cease broke his silence and revealed something that should have every Blue Jays fan fired up. Cease told Scott Barras, his agent, to get him to Toronto immediately. Not eventually, not if the deal was right, immediately. As soon as free agency opened, Cease said, "Get me to the Blue Jays." That's the kind of statement that changes narratives. For years, we've heard about how nobody wants to play in Canada, how free agents avoid Toronto, how the Jays have to overpay just to get meetings. Well, guess what? That's over. Cease is a marquee free agent, 6 years, $210 million. That's elite money for an elite pitcher, and he specifically wanted to come to Toronto. He didn't need to be convinced. He didn't need the Jays to sell him on the city or the organization. He asked around, talked to guys like Kevin Gausman, and heard nothing but positives. Gausman told him, "You're going to love the city. You're going to love the organization. There's nothing negative to say." And Cease believed it. He wanted in. This is huge for future free agent pursuits. If Kyle Tucker is talking to Miles Straw, who was his best man at his wedding and a former teammate, you better believe Straw is telling him good things about Toronto. If Tucker talks to George Springer, another former Astros teammate, Springer's going to rave about the organization. These connections matter. These relationships influence decisions. And right now, all the momentum is pointing toward Toronto being a destination that elite players actually want to join. Now, let's get back to the trade market because things are heating up fast. Ketel Marte is the name everyone is talking about, and the Red Sox are apparently viewed as the strongest candidates to land him. Multiple reports from John Morosi and Jared Carabas are saying Boston is heavily involved. That takes them out of the Bo Bichette sweepstakes, which is interesting because the Jays reportedly met with Bichette recently, and the market for him is apparently very robust. If Boston gets Marte, that's one less competitor for Bo. And if Bo ends up going somewhere else, that frees up the Jays to go even harder after Tucker. Honestly, I'm fine with the Red Sox landing Marte if it means Toronto gets Tucker, or even if they get Tucker and Bo goes to the National League or somewhere outside the AL East. The goal here is to maximize Toronto's roster, and adding Tucker does that in a massive way. He's the kind of player who changes your entire lineup. He gives you length, power, on-base ability, and elite defense. That's worth more than holding on to Bo and hoping things work out. And here's the reality. The Blue Jays are positioned better than almost any team right now. They've got financial flexibility. They've got a core that just made the World Series. They've got momentum coming off the Dylan Cease signing. And they've got a front office that, according to Robert Murray, is not sleeping. Ross Atkins is working the phones. He's having conversations. He's positioning Toronto to make another splash, whether that's a closer, a position player, or both. Speaking of closers, Edwin Diaz signed with the Dodgers. 3 years, $69 million, $23 million per year, the highest average annual value for any closer in baseball history. Could the Jays have matched that? Probably. But it sounds like Diaz wanted to join the reigning champions. He wanted the Dodgers. And honestly, that's fine. Toronto can look elsewhere. There are other quality relievers available. Robert Suarez is still out there. Tanner Scott is still available. The market isn't empty. The Jays just need to be aggressive and land someone who can handle the ninth inning. But let's not lose sight of the bigger picture here. The Blue Jays are among the most aggressive teams at the winter meetings. They've already landed a number one starter in Dylan Cease. They're heavily involved in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. They're exploring bullpen upgrades. They're meeting with players, making offers, and positioning themselves to have one of the best off seasons in franchise history. This is what contending looks like. This is what a team that's serious about winning a championship does. Ross Atkins came out today and said they're not done. John Schneider provided updates on injured players and confirmed guys like Santander are going to be ready to contribute. Everything is moving in the right direction. The pieces are falling into place. And if the Jays can close the deal on Kyle Tucker, if they can add another bullpen arm, if they can solidify the roster over the next few days, we're looking at a team that can legitimately compete for a World Series in 2026. The excitement is building. The moves are coming. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like everything is lining up perfectly for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now they just need to finish the job.